Shonen anime fight scenes are amazing, but there always seems to be one problem when watching the main character fight. Usually, when you see the main character in a fight scene, it's very little fear of consequences because he's the main character. What is he gonna die? I mean, that's not gonna happen. But when the main character's fighting for his life, he's not really fighting for his life. In the back of our mind, we know he'll be okay in the long run. So, in order to counter this, most of the time I just completely shut off my brain and don't think about it, and then the fight scene's way better. And the best part about that is, main character or not, whenever I'm watching a fight scene, I end up like Deku rocking back and forth in his chair because I'm just so excited to see what's going on. But from my understanding, most people can't get past this point. They always have that thought in the back of their mind. And this is a very strange phenomenon, which I've deemed to call the main character philosophy of the viewer dilemma, or plot armor for short. So, for the most part, we relate to these main characters, as part of what makes a good main character is that he's very relatable. So, if we know in these stories the character normally doesn't suffer from consequences, it makes us realize that in life we are not the main character, unfortunately. But that doesn't always mean we can't enjoy the show, because there are some good shows out there that give that sense of danger and always keep you on your toes because you never know what's going to happen. And I think a great example is a fan favorite that most people have probably heard of, and that's Kimetsu no Yaiba or Demon Slayer. Now, spoiler warning, Demon Slayer has death in it. I mean, it's pretty obvious in the first episode. His entire family gets massacred, and you're like, oh, okay, we're in this now. I mean, this is just something you don't normally see from shows. I get it, it's probably to keep it more kid friendly, but it's nice to see a little bit of a change, and it makes for a great story. So whenever Tanjiro is fighting, I truly do believe that he could lose an arm or a leg, probably not die, but you never know with this show. And when another character is fighting, I'm like, oh, I have no idea who's gonna win. This is indeed a fight for their lives. And then you proceed to get sad 10 minutes later because you just realize that your favorite character has now died. Which is part of the reason why I think the show is so successful. Not only is it beautifully animated, but when you're watching these fights, you have a real sense of danger and you're fully immersed in the show. And shows that don't have death can still be really immersive, but if a character dies, you're like, he'll probably come back. But in a show like Demon Slayer, he's probably not coming back. Now, a show that I think has a little bit too much plot armor, but is still really good, is Black Clover. Black Clover is actually a really good show if you get past the first 15 episodes and realize that he's not screaming all the time anymore. But I always feel weird when watching this show. It's like the guy has a sword, but then proceeds to bonk people on the head when fighting them. Not a typical tactic you would see with a sword, but it is a usage nonetheless. But when stuff like that happens, it just creates a weird feeling where how would they ever kill off a main character or a side character or even injure a character? But then again, it is anime. People can fly through 27 walls, get up, and start fighting again. And most of the time, that's all we really want to see is some good fights and some good story. And if you give me that, I mean, there's not really much to complain about. Plot armor is just really an effect of our own brain. So basically, if I was trying to make any point at all, is that if you watch shows and you don't be a hindsight herald, you'll probably enjoy them a lot more.